Hi, how y'all doing? I see there's a couple of people here. Yeah, so I'm probably going to start getting telephone calls because it is time that everybody shows up at the farm. I'm not there, obviously, but they have things that they have to do. Yeah. Hey, I just want to say hi, everybody. I know I've only been posting on the weekends because I've been incredibly busy. On the weekdays, I get up at 3:30. Generally, the alarm goes off at 3:30. I get up, I'm out the door by 10 minutes to 4, and then I work my ass off all day. I've been hauling 2 loads a day. This week I'll have 10 loads down to the mushroom barn. They have to go. I do not have a driver, and we are leaving on Monday to get the equipment all set up for the straw baling job down in Elm City, North Carolina. So that's what I've been up to. So I have 2 loader tractors, the 7410 and the 8120, and the 8120 will be leaving, I believe, today or tomorrow morning. I'm hoping he can do it tomorrow morning, but it's probably going to be today. And I have to get material home. I just have to get material home because there's wet material over in the fields, and if I leave it over there, it's going to rot in place before I get back. But if I get it home, Steve, ISX Cummins 565, the fellow that's hauling my equipment, you may know him as Mud Flaps. He may even be watching this on his way to the mushroom barn. I've contracted him, or got him on the schedule to haul for me. And because my father's basically out of commission until his eye heals up, he's got third nerve myopathy in his eye. So Steve's going to haul hay for me. He says he'll slam it out 2 loads a day if he can, which would be great, which would actually be totally awesome. If he could do that, because that means that my dry material will be gone, and my wet material and my dry material that's under tarps will be gone, and life will be okay, I guess. Hopefully he can do that for me, but he's got some things on the schedule and he will need to do that. But yeah. So anyways, with that being said, I'm just really running my eyeballs out at the end of the hood of this truck. I mean, I'm just putting on the miles, about 450 miles a day, and that's quite a bit. If you don't know, 450 miles is quite a bit. So that's just about that. What did you say? My wife is hot? I don't know. I haven't taken her temperature lately. Usually when you touch her, she feels pretty warm. I mean, if she was cold, I think that would mean she was dead. And I really don't want a dead wife. I kind of like my wife to be alive and warm or on the hot side. But yeah, she's a good girl though. What kind of road are you on? I'm on an interstate, yeah. Interstate 95, south of Philadelphia. And it's like, I think downtown Baghdad in, say, circa 2002 had better roads than Route 95 outside of Philadelphia. I'm glad you love my videos. I'm pulling an empty trailer right now because I'm on my way back to load up for the second load. Is Bram Huminga on there? Bram Huminga? Is he there? I had to jack up a tractor the other day, and I actually mentioned your name and your friend's name that gave me the tractor jack. I can't get the son of a bitch down because my skid steer is A, broken, B, blocking the way. And I really would have liked to use that stupid thing. Ay, ay, ay. Uh, how many miles a day is that? I'm putting on about 450 miles a day. Corn's out of the ground, just like that. Corn looks good. Corn actually looks really good. I do have a little bit that's kind of stuck under the ground because we've got a crust issue, but I believe that will disappear today. A little later this afternoon, we're supposed to have some rain showers, and then tomorrow we're supposed to have storms. So that'll moisten the soil enough to allow those poor corn plants to get their asses up through the hardened soil. Kind of shitty that it's that way, but it's about 95% up, 5% stuck, which is quite a bit, if you ask me. And of that 5% that's stuck, maybe half of a percent will never come through the ground. So I'm right down here. I missed what you said there. Generally, no. We go down the shore. We might go down Route 95 this time, but we generally go down the shore, down the eastern shore, down Route 13, 113, back to 13, across the tunnel bridge, and from there we mosey on down through Virginia and into North Carolina. That's the fastest way. It is truly the fastest way. It's not the cheapest way, but it is the fastest way. I did not see Brian's farming videos. I haven't had time to upload my own videos, nor have I had time to watch anybody else's. I have a New Holland combine. I think New Holland makes a really good combine. My combine is old, obviously. I'm not in the grain business too much. I actually took a 5-year sabbatical from grain, and this will be the first year I use it in 5 years. It's nothing to go through the tunnels. It's no different than taking the motorhome. It's a little narrow if you get wide, but if you're a wide load going through, they just shut off the tunnel and escort you across. How many acres do we own? Do I own? I own only houses. I own 2 houses. I'm in the process of starting the process of purchasing a farm, but it is what it is. We have to have the money to do it, and $1 million isn't exactly easy to come by. It's easy to have it pass through your hands, but to come by to actually purchase a piece of property like that. How many acres do I farm, if you want to know that? We're at like 35 something of my own acres that I do once, and then another 2,000 acres twice. So 35, 45, about 5,500 acres a year is what I do at home. And down in North Carolina, we'll be doing around 8,000 acres. And so 8,000 acres in North Carolina, and then North Carolina or Colorado, if that comes to fruition, I'm still working on it. I technically have a contract, but I'm not getting much in return from the guys that have that land. So I don't know if that's going to happen. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that will be another 10,000 acres. I really need the Colorado one. The simple fact of the matter is, I want to make money. That's all it boils down to is I want to make money. And I will only take one tractor and baler out and one tractor and stack wagon out to do that job. And if I do that job, then I will be debt free at the end of the year. Yes, debt free. Wouldn't that be something? It's nice. It'd be nice to say that. I don't carry much debt, but my revolving debt is $500,000 every year. So if you can come up with $500,000 every year, then you can do what I do. If you can't come up with $500,000 every year, you can't do what I do. It's expensive to do my job. So my revolving debt is $500,000 a year. So my goal is to do North Carolina, home, and Colorado, and then when I'm done with those properties, I will pay down my debt. William Cherry, good morning. How are you? So, what I'm hoping is we get down to North Carolina and we get, say, a week of really good weather. Wow, somebody gave me money. Thank you. Who is that? Benjamin Stockton? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. I don't think that I'm awesome. I just think I'm a guy that documents his daily stuff. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to post to YouTube because when I get home at night, I'm dog tired. Dead dog tired. I mean, I get to bed. Teresa says to me, she says, we go upstairs together. Me and my wife go to bed together. I mean, I wait for her to finish up her duties in the house, because usually when I come home, I'm so tired I just can't even lift a finger. My day starts at 3:30 in the morning lately, and it doesn't end until I don't get home generally until after 9 o'clock. So, whoa, that car is really wagging the dog. The dog is really wagging, the tail is wagging the dog. He's got this trailer, it's going, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's gonna lose it. Anyway, so my day is very long. And we go up to bed together, and then, of course, she's my wife, she's got to take off her makeup. She does light makeup on in the morning. Most days. I mean, a lot of days. Lately, she hasn't been. She says, I just don't have time for it. But she tries to put makeup on when she goes to church and stuff. She always puts makeup on for church. I mean, my wife looks better for God than she does for me, And I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. I love her to death, and it's amazing. When you see her all made up, it's like, wow, God, what the hell's wrong with you? What are you doing with me? That's sometimes I wonder, but no, she's a good girl. I love her to death. But, anyway, she says that she goes into the bathroom and she hears me snoring before she's finished putting the cleaner on her face, wiping her makeup off her, doing her nightly routine. Because she brushes her teeth, she washes her face, she pees, and then she goes to bed. She says, "You're asleep." Every time. She says, it's amazing how fast you can go to sleep. And, and then I hear people say, oh, I can't sleep at night. Well, let me tell you something. You start your day at 3:30 in the morning, and you work until 9 o'clock at night, you'll go to bed, you'll sleep. I guarantee it. If you don't, you're not working hard enough. If you go home and you cannot fall asleep after putting in what is that, 16-hour day, I think? I don't even know. 3:30 to 9:30. 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30. Yeah, that's another 6 hours. That's an 18-hour day. No? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 hours. That's an 18-hour day. You put in an 18-hour day, I mean literally, do this job for 18 hours a day, and if you tell me that you can't sleep, you're either Superman and don't need sleep, or a vampire that doesn't sleep, or you're just not working hard enough. That's it. Your mind gets tired. I try to be in bed by 10 at night, but it doesn't leave me any time to do this. Yeah. But anyway, there you go. It's going well. I mean, I think it's going well. And I believe I'm in Philadelphia. I mean, this is my daily routine. You want, I'll flip the camera around. You want to see Philadelphia? Anybody want to see Philadelphia? Just type in yes or no. They got the flashing winky blinky signs with the girls on it that say, "Come to our establishment." Okay. Oh, there's an office, sir. What the bloody hell? Well, that's something. We got a road blocked off. See if I can flip this sucker. So this is it. We're going to go down here through a tunnel. I think that is the Ben Franklin Bridge, right down here. And William Penn. Let's see if I can give you a shot. You can see William Penn standing proud on top of the, what the hell is the name of that? That's Independence Hall, right? He stands on top of Independence Hall. That's the Ben Franklin Bridge in front of me, if you didn't know. And then there is a U.S. Navy ship from like the 1800s that's parked here. I think it's a restaurant now. I'm not sure, but it's a tall ship. You see that? Look at this. It's a sailing ship, or what they call a tall ship. I would love to get onto that boat. That would be amazing to be able to actually sail that thing. Right there. The USS New Jersey is across the river there. And there it is, Central Philadelphia Independence Hall. There you go, look at that. What is that? It's like an old Cougar or something. Challenger, maybe? Barracuda? I don't know. Here. There's off the nose of my truck. That looks horrible, doesn't it? You don't want to see that. Okay. Did you all get a good look? No. Anyways, I got a little story I could tell you about William Penn. I actually told my wife this yesterday. William Penn. So back when Timothy was in 3rd grade, he had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Schumacher. And Mrs. Schumacher was a nice old lady. She was an okay teacher. She wasn't okay for Timothy, but she did okay for her mainstream students. Timothy was a little special needs, if you didn't know. If you don't know, my son has special needs. He had severe speech impediments, and he has impulsive tendencies. So it was very hard to raise Timothy, and very hard to have him hard for him to be taught in school. So Mrs. Schumacher, they had a class trip and they needed a chaperone for Timothy, and let's say F. Anyways, they needed a chaperone for Mr. Tim. So they asked my wife at the time, his mother, they're like, "Hey, do you want to go on this trip?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I gotta work." And they're like, "Well, we really would like Timothy to have a parent with him because of his impulsivity and stuff. We're afraid that he's gonna, run off." And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here! He ain't gonna run off. But if you want somebody to go, I'll go." Now, as you know, I like history. I don't get history right all the time, when I talk about it. But I love history. It's just like one of my favorite subjects because I think that history repeats itself. And it may not repeat itself in the same countries, but it repeats itself, it does repeat itself. And, you can shine up a turd, but it's still a turd, and that's just the way that is. If there's bad things that happen in the world, and you go back and you look at history, you could avert that by not repeating the same mistakes that you made throughout history. But, you know what? Some people polish that up. Some people want to polish it up and then impose it on a new generation, and it's still shit. It's just a different version of the same shit. They polish shit. It's still shit. So, but anyway, I like history. And Mrs. Schumacher in the school bus on the way down to Philadelphia here, she was trying to give a history lesson and some of the history in Philadelphia. And we were going down. We did not go to Independence Hall. We went to a museum. It was like Philadelphia's Museum of Natural History. And, not nearly as famous as New York's Museum of Natural History. But it was good. It was good. They had a lot of dinosaurs and some other things that were in there. But as we're going, the teacher asked the children a question, like, little boys and girls, we are going to be going down past Independence Hall. And on top of Independence Hall, there is a statue. Can anyone tell me who the statue is? Who's the man on top of Independence Hall? I think it's Independence Hall. Pretty sure it is, yes. Anyway, little kid raises her, I think it was a girl, couldn't remember. She says, is it George Washington? No, not George Washington. Well, I know the answer to this thing, and I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to let the teacher do her job, right? Let the teacher do her job. So, next little kid raised her hand, and his hand, and says, is it Abraham Lincoln? No, not Abraham Lincoln. They asked again, anybody know who's on top of the Independence Hall? No, nobody answers, and I'm dying, like I know the answer, like, hey, it's me, And I didn't do that, but I wanted to. I wanted to elbow Timothy and tell him who it is. He says, well, the correct answer for the person that's on top of Independence Hall is Ben Franklin. And I was like, what? No, it's not. So I raised my hand. I say, Mrs. Schumacher, it's not Ben Franklin on top of that building. I think it's Independence Hall. Anyways, she says, yes, it is. I says, no, it's not. She says, Mr. Pandy, I'm the teacher. I'm pretty sure, I know, 100% sure that it's Ben Franklin. I said, well, no, it's actually William Penn. And she was like, no, it's not William Penn. And it's Ben Franklin. I was like, now I'm pretty sure that's William Penn. Like the guy that Pennsylvania is named after, like William Penn. Well, Mr. Pandy thinks that it's William Penn, and I'm almost 100% sure that it is Ben Franklin. So, when we get back to class at the end of this trip, we will do a little bit of research, and we're going to find out who's on top of that building, whether it's Ben Franklin, which I believe it is, or if it's William Penn, like Mr. Pandy thinks it is. And when you can just feel the disdain in a teacher's voice, like, how dare you contradict how dare you contradict me in my class? You're like, whatever. So we go through the day. Timothy didn't run off. He did a really good job. I actually took some pictures of Timothy. The only thing that Timothy did that was impulsive was we went into a butterfly room where they had all the exotic and weird-ass butterflies from around the world. And when I say exotic and weird, I've never seen any of these things, Anyways, this butterfly comes, and it lands on him. He goes, wham! He kills it. I was like, no! Anyways, he kills it. He's like, Timothy, don't kill the butterfly. I know like is what he would say. So it's like, oh my God, come on, no, don't. So the next thing, butterfly lands on the handrail. Got it. Like, no, let's go, get out. So we went through. It was hot as hell in there too. It was really steamy because it was like a rainforest with all these crazy things on it. But anyway, so that's my story. We get back to school, and the teacher goes over to the bookshelf where she has a full line of Britannica encyclopedias and dictionaries and things like that. She goes over to Pennsylvania, pulls it out, and she looks on top, and I see her take her glasses and put them on. Bifocals, mind you. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting. She closes the book nicely, puts it back on the shelf, because we had like 15 minutes to wait for the end of class, and I was just going to take Timothy home. And she says, well, I have to say, I was wrong, and Mr. Pandy was right. That is definitely Mr. William Penn on top of that building. So, one for me. Call me when I'm, see, I hate that. When I'm sleeping, because I've been up for like 50 hours and there's a bunk back there, Timothy was loading me the other day. I had no less than 3 freaking phone calls. I was ready to just freaking scream. And, I was like, I can't shut the phone off because there is a business, but when they call me, they're like, where you at? Like, I'm trying to fucking sleep. What do you want? Oh, does the tractor need any hydraulic oil, do you think? Like, you're there, check the fucking level. That kind of stuff. So, yeah, it just never fails. Anyway, yeah. So that was my story about Mrs. Schumacher and Timothy's butterflies, my God. So I had this, and we're going to do a dinosaur dig. I have fond memories of going to school with Timothy because everybody's not dead yet. No, I'm not dead. I live in New Jersey. COVID-19 has not killed me yet. As a matter of fact, I don't even wear a mask, and I barely wash my hands, and I go like this all the time, trying to catch it. I want that thing done with so that I'm immune, and I don't have to wear a mask, and just be like, see ya, I'm going in here, and don't use the freaking tracking software. If you want to be tracked in your movement with your telephone, you hear these politicians say, oh, we're going to do tracking software so that you will know if you have been exposed to someone who has had or has the coronavirus. I'm like, ain't nobody's putting a tag on me, motherfucker. You think that I'm going to tag myself and say, hey, I'm going to be walking around through here, and, because then the government knows that you've been, next to somebody who's had COVID-19 or has COVID-19. Listen, stay away from people. If you're worried about it, stay away from people. I mean, I can turn this around. These people aren't worried about getting it. I guarantee you. There's like 5,000 cars and trucks on the road right now, right in front of me. They're passing me at Mach 1 speeds and doing their normal thing, just being a pain in the ass. So, anyway. Oh, there's Smokey Bear. What are we doing? Somebody wants to meet me? Peter Knoll. Yeah, we're feeding the world. That is true. Now I'm not just one lonely grass cutter, because even though corn is a grass, I'm growing corn now too. I got about 180 acres, I guess, 160 acres, about 160 acres in the Well, I was watching this morning a little bit as I was coming down, because I like to watch the news or listen to the news as I'm driving. I got it in my headset, and they were talking about this stuff. You probably did have it, But anyways, what was I going to do? Oh, with this tracking software, I'm listening to the news, and I'm like, have you ever read the book 1984? Okay? If you have not read the book 1984, it was written by a guy named George Orwell in 1948. And he used 1984 as the title of the book because he just switched the two numbers, and at that time, between 1939 and 1945, or even 1948, let's just say 1939 and 1950, in that 11-year span, there had been such great advancements in technologies, and even right up through the 1980s and 90s, and now it has accelerated at such an incredible speed. But at that 1939 to 1948 era, they went from piston engine airplanes to jet engines. They went, firearms technologies and things like that had advanced incredible amounts. Car manufacturers, automatic transmissions were replacing standard transmissions. Just all these technologies and stuff. So he based his book on the way things were going and what he could see. Good morning, Michael Fazio has just showed up here. Bad flashback of Mrs. Kuiper now. Oh, fuck that. Excuse me. You didn't have Mrs. Kuiper. Not you had Kuiper. I had Piper. I didn't have Mrs. Kuiper, but I had Mrs. Piper. Mrs. Piper was worthless. Mrs. Kuiper couldn't keep her legs closed. She liked to fuck. That I know about. Yeah, she liked to fuck a lot, like everybody. I think Joel Berzato was her regular, but whatever. We won't even talk about that. Mrs. Kuiper. Holy hell. I had almost forgot her name. I'll never forget walking down the hall after a lengthy double detention. It was 5:30, and I had missed the late bus because, I don't know, I was taking a walk with my girlfriend in the woods. I won't talk about what we were doing, but I went back into the school, and I hear moaning, and I'm like, huh? And I hear what's going on behind that office door, and I was like, wow. Yeah, so the only one that emerged from that was Mrs. Kuiper, and then about 5 minutes, no, Joel Berzato left, and then Mrs. Kuiper left. So she was getting it. Oh yeah, she was getting it. But anyways, enough of the teen exploitation and sex with teachers deal. The other one was Miss Haru. Do you remember Miss Haru, Tim? You can. Miss Haru. Miss Haru. Now, Miss Haru was, I want to say she was definitely South American. And where's William? He's with his mommy, Edith, my sister-in-law. Yeah, he's with Teresa. I'm alone, But anyways, now I'm off track again. Miss Haru was this little South American girl, again, liked to have sex with football players. Now there was a fellow that I went to school with, and I'm sure Tim would remember him. Greg Hanna was his name, and Greg Hanna loved Miss Haru. He was in love with her, like in lust with her. He wanted her like he wanted no one else. I'm like, dude. Now she's like 26, 27 years old. So she's just a little bit older. We're high school boys, horny as hell. And Miss Haru, he heard that she would be with, some sports figures in school. And yeah, she would actually go to illegal alcohol parties at school, after school activities. She liked the extracurricular activities, and he wrote her a letter. And because, Hannah, Greg he'd sit next to me in class. We were friends. So I forget what class it was. It might have been history or some shit like that. It might even have been Mrs. Dawson's class, but that would have been English. Anyways, he's there intently writing his letter. I was like, Jesus, you did your schoolwork as well as you're writing that letter. You'd probably be out of this retard class that we're in. He says, I'm writing this letter. I want Miss Haru. I'm like, what? Are you crazy? She's a teacher. What the hell's the matter with you? He's like, I don't care. I love her. I'm in love with Miss Haru. So he writes the letter, and a few days goes by, and I see him like this reading a letter, and I'm like, dude, that's from Miss Haru? Yeah, I don't know what to do. because I know I just can't. I have to be with her. I'm like, dude, you're obsessed. You know. Anyways, he's talking about her, and he says, here, you want to read it? It's like the worst thing ever. I'm like, so I'm reading this letter, and she's like, oh, Greg, you're such a nice boy. You're just not my type. You know, and besides, I'm a teacher. I can't do this. So he's writing back to her, you know, as I'm reading this thing. So that didn't stop you from going to the party and being with so-and-so. I don't remember the boy's name, but yeah, she liked to do that too. Anyway, yeah, when you see it on the news, I mean, I was first-hand witness to this stuff. I was first-hand witness to teachers having sex with students. It was just what they did. I mean, I'm sure, well, Tim knows Mr. Caridi. Mr. Caridi was the German teacher. He's retired from Del Val. And he was with Laura Onco. And Laura Onco was actually 2.5 years younger than me. So, because I was left back in 3rd grade because I'm retarded. And, you know, so because I'll be 48, I graduated in 91. I should have graduated in 1990. I was born in 1972. But anyways, Laura Onco was the daughter of the teachers at the middle school, the Oncos, Mr. and Mrs. Onco. They were both teachers, and I know Timmy Cornpicker had both of those teachers. If he didn't have both of them, he had at least one of them back. Her parents were my 8th grade teachers. See, I was right. So Laura Onco was the daughter of 2 teachers that Timmy Cornpicker had. I went to Kingwood, and actually I didn't go to Kingwood. I went to Round Valley School, but Kingwood was my sending district. But anyway, she hooked up with Mr. Caridi, who was, I believe, the German teacher in Del Val, and which I know he was the German teacher. And it was not a quiet courtship. And she was, when I graduated high school, I was 18, almost 19. And I think, Tim, you're 2 years younger than me, so she would have been 16 years old at that time, and it had already been going on since they were freshmen. And, yeah, since they were freshmen in high school. She was a freshman in high school. Now, they did get married. They are still married. But it does not excuse the fact that he was a teacher raping a 15-year-old, 16-year-old girl. Yeah, she's probably about 15. If you go into high school, you're about 14. They got together when she was 14, 15, and he was like 30. So, or 30-something. So he is now, but anyway, she went to college. She became a teacher. They taught together in school. And yeah, there you go. The panties in the car incident, that happened today. Oh yeah, well, my brother-in-law, my former brother-in-law, he's 9 years younger than me. He went to school. He went to school in Kentucky, and he went to the University of Kentucky, Lexington. And I went and visited him out there in the middle of my divorce, but he got his degree in I don't know what, and got his teaching certificate, and he went back to Del Val to teach, substitute teach, and the summer before he went to substitute teach in school at the Del Val, he was washing dishes and being a waiter down in Frenchtown at the Frenchtown Hotel, and he met a girl there. He claims she lied about her age, but I don't think so, you know. I don't think so. She was a pretty girl, cute girl. Anyways, he hooks up with her, and she was 17, I guess, because they were in her father's car. And her father was in his car and found her panties in his car. Well, okay. In the first place, Why wouldn't you put your panties back on? This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Or ever heard of it. You're having sex. You're done. Put your panties on. You don't want that shit running down your legs. Whatever. Anyway, put your panties back on. I remember watching the movie Overboard when the dude had a pair of panties in his glove box. Why is her panties off? After you're just figure it out. Anyway, whatever. So, Daddy finds panties. Corner's daughter. Who are you fucking? Michael. Oh no. Michael just so happens to be a substitute teacher. Uh-oh. Her substitute teacher. Uh-oh. Big trouble at the Del Val High School. Michael gets a phone call. Come into the main office here. You have like an hour to be here because he wasn't on duty at the time. He comes in and they're like, you need to resign and leave. So within a week, he had resigned his position as substitute teacher because he was there most days. He was a floater. He could teach any class. And when you have a substitute teacher, they make like $100 a day to do that. So you can make $500 a week substitute teaching and still, it's $2,000 a month substituting. And at that time, it was pretty good money. So anyways, like, you need to resign your position and we don't want to see you in here anymore. Yeah, it was a permanent substitute. He was a permanent substitute. So anyways, he moved to Boston, Massachusetts, within a week to get away from New Jersey because he wasn't sure whether the parents were going to prosecute him or not. They couldn't get him on statutory rape, but they could get him because he was a teacher and he had an authoritarian position. He was authoritarian, which actually, I believe, reconstitutes the statutory rape and abuse of a minor because she was a minor. Now, in New Jersey, you can have sex with a 16-year-old girl. A 16-year-old girl came to me, and if I was single and I wanted to have sex with her as a farmer or anybody else, and this girl comes on the farm and says, you know what, I really like you, Mr. Pandy, would you have sex with me? And I say, yeah, sure, you're hot, I want to fuck you. So we do, which I wouldn't do anyway because I'm a married man. But if it happened, there's nothing they can do to me. Her parents can say, hey, this man had sex with my underage daughter, and they'll say, well, she is 16, which is the age consent in New Jersey. So there's nothing they can do. But because he was in an authoritarian position, yes, there was something that he could do, that they could do to him, so he left. He's not back yet. He very rarely comes to New Jersey, and probably not at all now. His sisters, both of them used to live in New Jersey, but my ex-wife is now moved to Pennsylvania, and the other one, I don't know whether she's in a rehab center or not, but she's got drug and gambling problems, so she has for 25 years or more, probably 30 years now. But anyways, with that being said, I really don't care what happens to him anyway. But he's in Boston, and that's where he's at. I'm not going to end up in the ditch. Why would somebody end up in the ditch? Anyway, with that being said, I've had a good time. I'm crossing over to New Jersey now. But yeah, the shenanigans, and I would just like to end this. Timmy Cornpicker, what are you saying? What happened to her wife? Her wife, I preferred her wife. Her name was Holly. And she's a nice girl. She's a big girl, but she's nice. She's a very nice person. And I liked her. Hey, first time to catch your live stream. Huh. Well, welcome aboard. I was actually watching yours yesterday. I didn't comment. And that Azola is kind of weird. Yeah. I don't know that I don't have any animals to feed here, so I don't really worry about it. But I'm interested in that. That's kind of cool. It grows so damn fast. But what we're talking about is shenanigans in the high school between students and teachers, which is more common than probably most people think. So, anyways, with that being said, if it happens so much in our little hometown school, I think it's way more widespread because it never got out. I mean, if the shenanigans that happened when I was in school and my parents were in that very same school, and yes, my dad went to school at that. My mom and dad went to school together. They were high school sweethearts. But there were incidences that were happening back then, like Mr. Stretch. Tim knows Mr. Stretch. Mr. Stretch had a young lady come into my print shop class when I was a freshman in high school. I had print shop with Mr. Stretch. Yeah, Joe Biden. No, I think Joe Biden didn't miss his calling, but yeah, that's there. The age of consent in the Philippines is 12. That's shocking. I thought it was 16 as well. But yeah, I could see that. I mean, I see a lot of when I'm in the Philippines, and I love the Philippines. I actually, Brian, you're doing a great job, and I'm watching you. And maybe at some point when I'm older and I want to retire from farming in the United States, I do have a plan, and it may involve the Philippines. But the Philippines is a little different living than the United States, which I understand because I've been going there since 2013. But yeah, age of consent, 12 years old. That's young. I mean, that's really young. For the most part, most of the people that I know in the Philippines are very conservative. Yes, I know emotions can take a hold of a young person, but yeah, I will retire, Lewis. I will retire from the United States, possibly. I do have ambitions of sailing around the world and stopping along the route. I'll be 48 in July, and my plan is that at 65 to turn over the farming to my children if they are willing, and then turn it over to them, not the complete, not the equipment. Turn the equipment over to them to use, and then support me for the 2 to 3 years that I will be circumnavigating the world. And then when I come back to the United States, or even possibly the Philippines at that point, I have a couple houses in the Philippines, so I do have that place there. I will I will then turn over the equipment to them to do as they need, and I will, either sell the boat and live at home in the United States, or travel back and forth from the Philippines to the United States. That's my plan. Whether that plan comes to fruition at any point in this time, but I'm grooming my children and my nephews to take over the farm. And when I get to that point, hopefully I have enough to sustain myself, and the government hasn't robbed it all from me. But yeah, that is the plan. I do want to see places in the world that most people don't get to see. Yeah, if you're in 30 knot winds, that's pretty tough. You can sail in that, but you're going to have to take out a couple reefs. I'm sorry. No spinnaker weather for you. That's for sure. But yeah, that's my plan. I actually want to build a boat. I want to build a 45-foot catamaran. I have the means and the know-how to do it, and the plans to do it are easily obtained for a little bit of money. And yeah, just set off into the sunset. I haven't settled on whether I want to actually have a sail or whether I want to have a foil. I'm thinking a foil over a fabric sail, because foils you can diffuse a foil pretty simply or easily, and yeah, I'm not sure, but we'll find out. Hello, Minnesota. So anyhow, back to the subject of the in-school shenanigans, as I'll call it. Uh, as the generations go, as you go through the generations of family members that have attended the small school that we have here, and my parents, my father had told me a couple of stories of teacher-student relationships. I know that Boyden, we'll use his first name instead of his last name. He had a child when I was in the print shop. A young lady came in holding a seemingly newborn, maybe, I would have to say that baby was no more than a month and a half to 2 months old. And she came in and he saw her and his eyes got the size of like saucers. And that wasn't the first time that he was intimate with a student. Maybe it was the first time he had a child with a student, but yeah, rumor had it that that was his child. And there was an investigation through the state police where there was, speaking of the devil, there goes the state police. There was an investigation into him for the for rape. It wasn't rape; it was consensual sex, but between him and a student, and it got squashed by his wife. And that was, I'm not sure whether that was the same or whether it was different, but these things happen. And if they happened in my school and never got out into the public eye, which they probably should have definitely been brought into the public eye, but when students know about a student banging a teacher, those students, they don't say anything generally. Snitches get stitches. That was kind of the way it was. Today, snitches get rewarded if you're in California and possibly Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Snitches get rewarded. When I saw that on TV, I was like, you know what? 1984. 1984, the book 1984. If you read the book 1984 by George Orwell, you will definitely understand that what freedoms we had in 1948 versus what his fictional freedoms that had been taken away in that short amount of time, in 44 years, or 44 years, not even 44 years, 38 and 30 whatever years, 36 years of time. It was, today, what we're experiencing today. Every quarter mile, half mile on this road that I am on, there is a camera. There are solar panels about, I don't know, every eighth of a mile. Here there's on telephone poles, and there are there's cameras actually on those solar panels so that nobody steals them, and if they do, they can catch them. So we are under constant surveillance. And if you've read the book 1984, The Morning Hate is at the beginning of the book and someplace in the center of the book as well. The Morning Hate is basically ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, all of Vox, Fox, all this stuff. The Morning Hate is the news agencies. You wake up, and what do you listen to? You listen to, if you look at CNN, Donald Trump is bad. He's destroying the country. He's this. You listen to Fox, Nancy Pelosi is bad. Chuck Schumer's going to kill the country. They are. They're all bad. I mean, you can't get an honest opinion out of these things. So just stop watching the news and hopefully they go away. But the Morning Hate is the news agencies. If you don't have time to read 1984, you may have time to listen to it. It is free. It is free to listen to on, I believe, YouTube. I listen to books on tape quite frequently, and I do still read visually. But yeah, you need to watch. You need to listen to that or read that. It is an informative book. So, but anyway, and then we can go back to the teacher-student thing. Does anybody that's watching this video right now know of teacher-student relationships? You don't have to name names. You don't have to say where you're from. It's just watch a farmer. Yeah. Yeah, actually, if you want to see how Brian, an American, who's married to a Filipina who is going to have a baby, his name will be, I believe, Charlie. You want to watch that? Go and watch a foreigner farming in the Philippines. He starts his montage or his videos with, "Hello, everyone, and welcome to a foreigner farming in the Philippines." And it's a good watch. I don't watch all of his videos because he puts out 3 or 4 a day. One a day is good, but yep. So we're getting some yeses here on infidelity. Now, was your experience like mine, where students knew that teachers were having affairs with or having sexual relations with other children, and nobody said anything? Because I'm 99.9% sure that nobody ever said anything. We all knew and chuckled about it, but nobody ever said, "Hey, Mom, guess what? Look what I saw in school today," and show their iPhone with, Mrs. Smith getting banged by Johnny Long. Just not happening. Back in the day, it wasn't talked about. You're right. Yeah, all aware. No, there's a lot. Isn't it crazy? I mean, we had a substitute teacher. She had a bachelor's. She didn't have. No, she had an associate's. See, when you get an associate's degree, you have enough to become enough education to become a substitute teacher. At least she did back in the day. That was 2 years of college. You had 60 credits. You could apply for a teaching license or a substitute teaching license, and you were allowed to do that back when I was young. Because my former wife, she actually has an associate's degree. She never did do the teaching. I don't think she did. I think she did. She did substitute a little bit. Yeah, she did. She gave that up. But her degree was in business management. I wanted her to get a bachelor's, but she had other things on mind. Not with me. So that was just the way it was. But yeah. Yeah, nobody talked about it. Nobody did. It was just like a silent subject. Our gym teacher has relationships with seniors that graduated. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a substitute teacher that I had when I was in school, and I was talking about having an associate's degree. She was like 21 years old. This girl graduated when she was 18, went right into college. She had her 60 credits. College credits. I believe she had some college credits before she graduated high school, which is perfectly legal, and people do that. I knew some people that actually had college courses up at the Raritan Valley Community College while I was in high school, and they were getting college credits because they had enough high school credits that they could leave at 11:30 in the morning. You were required to come into high school for the morning, and then you could leave during the course of the day. And one of those classes had to be gym. So if you had all of your credits done, you had to have 115 credits back in them days in order to graduate, and you still had to have English. I think you had to have English. You had to have language. You had to have whatever you had to have, and you had to do gym class. So they would go and do college credits. Anyways, this girl walks into our class, which she was a student in high school when I was a freshman. Okay, so she was a senior when I was a freshman, and she was back teaching high school when I was a junior. She was a substitute at that time, and she was a good-looking girl. I mean, whew, nice shape, thin, flat belly, decent breast. All the things a nice horny young man would like to, go after. And the subject of infidelity, or not infidelity, well, maybe it started with infidelity and ended up with a high school student. Oh, hey, there's Andy Detweiler. Yeah. No, see, so even the harmless farmer knows. Yeah, I mean, isn't it crazy? It's absolutely crazy that this subject is like the dirty little secret of rural America. Um, but anyway, so we were talking about student-teacher relationships, and how it was just one of those things. And she says the temptation is there. I'll never forget her saying it. The temptation is there. The temptation is always there to, because you're of the same age. When you get to be, most seniors, a lot of seniors are 18 years old. So if you're 18 years old and this 22-year-old girl or 21-year-old girl walks into your class, she can buy you beer. She can buy you alcohol. She can buy you cigarettes, because the age to buy cigarettes changed when I was a freshman or a freshman or sophomore in high school. Went from anybody could buy cigarettes. We still had cigarette vending machines back then. Put your dollar in, and a quarter would come out a quarter would come out, and then so you put a dollar in and a quarter would come out, or you put 3/4 in. I don't remember how the hell it went, but then I'll never forget when cigarettes hit $1. It was like, oh my God, $1 for a pack, and now I think it's like $9, $10 for that same pack of grits. We call them grits. But yeah, we even had a smoking lounge in the school. But anyways, we were talking about these student-teacher relationships, and she was saying how the temptation is there. You have to resist it, and it's not right. It isn't right that a teacher would take a student to bed or date a student. She says, and this was when it got a little funky. She says, well, I could see if you knew this person outside of school and you didn't have them actually in the classroom, that it would be okay. And I'm thinking, this sounds like this girl's actually having a relationship with one of the students. And she was there for, like I said, she's a good-looking girl, back in 1989, 90. Yeah, 1980, 88, 89, 89, 90. I graduated in 91, so it'll be 88, 89. So, back in that time, and then all of a sudden, poof, she's gone. She never substituted again. Nobody ever knew why or who. And then there was another girl, and I know that, I know Timmy Cornpecker will know this one, Tona. And we won't use her last name. Tona was her first name. She was a Vietnamese girl that was brought over to the United States from Vietnam when the war ended in 1974, and she was raised as an American. I still talk with her. She's a very nice girl. Anyways, she was in a relationship with a substitute teacher, and she called him Green Dick Lee. Green Dick Lee. I was like, why do you call him Green Dick Lee? It's because he had an STD, and I got it. I was like, whoa! I don't know if she was pulling my leg or not, but she called him Green Dick Lee. So, anyway, I'm at my destination. I've had a great time. Andy, if you're still here, I didn't watch your live shop talk the other night. I think it was last night, I believe. Because I'm just so tired. I saw that it was on, and I'm just so tired I couldn't do it. But I hope you're doing well. I know that you had your last treatment. I think you had your last treatment. And I don't know when you're going in for surgery, but if I don't talk to you between now and then, I want to wish you luck. I mean, I know you'll do fine. You're just that kind of a person to overcome everything. And you're a trooper. You're actually a true American hero, if you ask me. I mean, for the things that happened to you in your life, even though you were just very small and stuff, you have done incredible things. And I know you'll do great, And I'm thinking of you. I really am. I think of you probably more often than what you would believe, because I see people that are, claim disabled, and then I think of Andy Detweiler, and I'm like, what? If this man can do the things that he does, there is no need for 99% of disabled people to be on disability. And yeah, so with that said, thanks for watching. And because I've got like construction and stuff, um, yes, Andy Detweiler, the harmless farmer, is an inspiration to anyone, and he is probably the anybody that belly aches and complains about minor aches and pains should go over and watch Andy work, and then you'll understand that your situation is nothing compared. Well, his situation's nothing because he's used to it. I mean, and a sense of humor. I love the video when he says he was at a farm show or something, and they go into the chainsaw exhibit, and his brother's there, and he said, "Wow, that's a nice saw." And Andy says, "Yeah, it's just like the one that cut my arms off." That was like the funniest thing I ever heard. So yeah, kudos to him. Anyway, but whatever. Gotta go. Oh my God, there's a fertilizer spreader. Hey, can I get that thing to flip? No. Big one. AgChem? No, GVM. GVM. That guy delivered fertilizer to me a couple weeks ago. Anyways,